For years, I used to recommend these clay pots to clients. They are affordable, they make the food taste great, but the prices may be subject to change. So you'll see these various sizes of clay ovens, clay pots, also called a Dutch oven. On most of these, you'll wet the outside of the clay oven or pot. Some of them are treated where you don't have to do that, but it's debatable whether or not you're getting all the benefits from the clay itself. But I've actually owned this particular one, I believe in the 3-quart. So if you've got a family, you're going to be going for the larger one here, right? 6-7 quarts. And based on lean body mass as well. So my entire program that I stuck with and that I had clients doing was layering, beginning with rice and then working on to a myriad of different vegetables that I would rotate each time there was a carb load. So essentially you are super compensating with the most health benefiting foods, and the clay oven here locks in all the nutrients, all the freshness. I would even go as far as to just put 5-10 max, depending on the vegetables I was taking in, of trace minerals. And then you top it with Himalayan sprouts and avocado. You can cook, or bake rather, with oils, and you can measure out exactly the amounts of oils, the type of oils, and you can rotate these oils. Depending on your training, depending on your fasted state. And so to come out of the fasted state, I wouldn't recommend even going in with these harder foods, i.e. rice, vegetables. You can add meat, but it changes the environment of the clay oven, especially fish, and the foods will simply never taste good again. The whole point of this is to season. After you use this 3, 5, 10 times, you'll notice that just by seasoning the clay oven, you're getting those flavors of all those vegetables. And then we go on to the brown rice that we're using, and then buying in bulk can make cooking like this extremely efficacious and save you quite a bit of money over time. I did get into things like I would add less than maybe a thimbleful of red wine. I would add in things like mustard powder, curry powder, cumin, the list goes on, cayenne pepper. It's amazing how the flavors just come out. I mean, you can chop a full cabbage 4 ways, throw it in here, and the minute you start to stir all of those vegetables around, it just comes apart. It's like, for the vegetarian, not that I am a vegetarian, but I do believe in undulating or rotating the way that you eat on specific days. And eventually, you're not even going to want to eat meat, because you'll see that the meat itself, the protein in the meat, the absorbability and the bioavailability is really what you're searching for, and you're just simply used to eating meat. But once you start taking in full spectrum amino acids through these fasting states where you're on an orthomolecular plan, so you're depleting, you're gaining health, you're setting off autophagy, then you're going in and super compensating with the best nutrients possible. Brussels sprouts just break apart, practically melt in your mouth. So things that are relatively hard to bake or cook, that nutrients are contained within, but you don't necessarily trust eating them raw just because of the hard digestibility factor, that is completely removed. All those nutrients are locked in. And once you dig into that, everything is so steamed and fresh and fully baked. And again, all those nutrients are locked in. Oftentimes I would use like Bragg's amino just to get my potassium level up. You wouldn't even notice if you put nori in to bolster iodine levels. So The mixture is amazing. You can taste the nutrients, you can feel the medicinal effects, and then you load up based on your resting energy expenditure, where you take 0.45 times your body weight in pounds, and that gives you the base amount of calories you'll need. You'll measure that out in rice and the various vegetables that you're taking in, and I guarantee that you could fill one of these 3 quarts up by yourself, up to the top, have a huge amount of food that's available over several hours. It's basically a controlled binge purge. I used to call it an Epicurean binge purge, where you're enjoying the bounty of the most flavorful, nutrient-rich foods. When you're super compensating, your cells are uptaking the nutrients because you've been in a depleted state so long, and you are resetting your cells. Number 1, insulin sensitive, and number 2, to know those nutrients are there and to rapidly take them up. And after you go through this 20 to 30 times, 20 to 30 cycles, you'll start to see a difference in anti-aging, a difference in the way that you feel each day, your joints. That's the beauty of it. And you've got to do your own research. If there are any issues, if there are any allergies, you'll be able to point them out, because the limited number of foods that you're taking in make any contraindications stand out like a sore thumb. So you kind of have to do a self-prescripted assessment on yourself and see what area. Doing a submaximal test to see where your cardiovascular and oxygen diffusion health is. Body fat tests, caliper tests to determine where your body fat is. A BMI assessment for yourself based on your wrist circumference. So finding out how big your wrists are after you've lost that initial weight. I do believe also in the carnivore diet to initially get down with ease to a range where you can start to do this, where you're just going through this binge purge. I'm focusing on those resources from vegetables and from healthy carbohydrate sources. The beauty of this is you can choose to use quinoa or other grains instead of using rice or brown rice. Often what I would do with clients and myself is I would use a short grain rice separate from this and make rice pudding out of these various flavors that you can get with whey protein. So for me, I can exercise my principles without killing any animals. I can eat a vegetarian-based lifestyle when I'm super compensating. I can take in the whey protein. For right now, I believe that's the most superior protein microfractions that you can get. But I do believe in the future, humanity is going to understand more about engineering superior amino acids and proteins that are more bioavailable, bioabsorbable, and don't cost an animal its life. So you can exercise your principles on that level. You can also utilize all of the resources that this world, nature, our own omnivorous inclination, eat meat when it's available, to eat vegetables when it's available, to fast on proteins, high quality bioavailable proteins when they are available. And so effectively you're going through this gear shifting diet where you're shifting between ketosis, gluconeogenesis, supercompensation. Once I get my body fat down to the area where I want to maintain my body weight, I want to shorten the cycles out, and that's what we can get into later. Through demonstrable video presentation, I'll be showing you how I'm doing this. I'll be showing you the way that I cook, because I did this for years. I used to have videos up that I erased many years ago using the clay pot, the clay oven. And to me, this is the secret to making quick meals for your family, quick meals for yourself. No hassle, very little prep work. You'll start to see how you like certain things. But once you stir a few times, you stir in the cabbage, the kale, the Brussels sprouts, and you start to see how it just breaks up, the cauliflower, things that you might not have liked before take on a whole different life and a whole different flavor. And all those nutrients are just offered in this bounty. Your body's able to absorb and break it down so easily. And you can do soups in this also. You could do something where you're adding extra liquid, water, broth, what have you. You can make your own broth. Again, I used to use Bragg's amino acids. I would use seaweed or nori in order to bolster the iodine level. I would put in a few drops of minerals. And believe it or not, once this is all cooked in together, it tastes amazing.